I want to welcome in our next guest, Jamil Jaffer, founder and executive director of the George Mason University National Security Institute. He served as associate counsel to President George W. Bush. Sir, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex.
So, as Robert just pointed out, new comments now just coming in from President Trump on Truth Social, saying that he's actually going to be meeting right now in the Situation Room to make a final determination. To your understanding, what exactly are the conversations like in the Situation Room at this point in a negotiation when a deal is on the line?
Well, look, I think the president has to weigh his desire to do a deal and get the strait reopened with the question whether Iran really means it. What, are they really going to get rid of as he calls it, nuclear dust or the enriched uranium? Are they going to get rid of all of it, not just the 60% highly enriched uranium, but all of it, which is a significant way towards a nuclear weapon? Are they going to give up a nuclear program altogether, which in part means giving up the ability to enrich uranium domestically? They don't need that for civilian program. And the question is, are they going to give that up, which they've refused to thus far? And then, of course, there's this ongoing question of, are they going to reopen the strait and are they going to do it immediately? Because they've told us before, we're in a ceasefire, it's worth noting, Alex, right now, where Iran was supposed to open the strait weeks ago. They haven't done that. We've stopped bombing them with the exception of small skirmishes here and there. In trade for them reopening the strait, they haven't done that. So what is the reason that we can believe that they'll do it now? Why should we continue to give at the negotiating table while they're not doing their part on the Strait of Hormuz?
I want to play a quick soundbite from former Defense Secretary Mark Esper speaking to our colleague Blake Berman yesterday on the Hill. He asked him if he thinks President Trump wants to go back to war. Here's what he said.
I think in his mind, he sees a deal. He sees a deal that the Iranians would be stupid not to take. And look, in many ways, I see the same thing. Why they won't give up these their infrastructure, the materials, whatnot, so that they can open up their economy, support the Iranian people, do all these things, just makes no sense.
So clearly he sees a deal. I mean, they're discussing it right now in the Situation Room. I guess my question would be if we think that this falls short of what President Trump said he's been trying to achieve for 3 months now. At one point, he was saying unconditional surrender. Does this deal potentially fall short of that mark?
Well, look, this isn't obviously unconditional surrender. They do appear to be holding the Strait of Hormuz hostage against us in this negotiation. So they're not giving up completely. But that's okay. If we have a deal that involves them no longer having the ability to enrich uranium domestically, ever, which was a huge failure and a key failing of the Obama-era nuclear deal, if there is an agreement they won't support terrorism, if there's an agreement they will reopen the strait immediately, if there's an agreement they will move all of that highly enriched uranium and other uranium, any enriched uranium, out of the country, give it to us to be downblended, not to the Chinese, not to the Russians, who might keep it and ultimately give it back to them, then that's a decent deal. The problem is that it's not clear that deal is even on the table. And, the president's saying, well, it's only some of the people around the president who want desperately to get to an end of this thing are saying, well, it's only a 60-day deal. It's just an MOU. Remember, that was the same line President Obama used to say, well, it's just a joint plan of action, right? It's a deal that we're going to work out over time. That is not an acceptable solution. We have to keep the pressure on. And the Iranians estimate that President Trump isn't willing to continue the war. But we've seen the president struck at Iranian targets just in the last 24, 48 hours. So that demonstrates he's willing to keep the fight up. The question is, will he do a deal that's not good for the country, not as good or only as good as the Obama-era nuclear deal? He shouldn't do that, and hopefully he won't today in the Situation Room.
Only got about 30 seconds left. What do you make of the timing of it all? The president in the Situation Room today, while the Secretary of State is also meeting with Pakistani officials. Are those a coincidence, or do you think that there was real progress made during that meeting at the State Department?
No, look, I think obviously the Pakistanis have played a key role in this negotiation. Surprising in some ways. Most people thought it would be done through Oman. You've actually seen Oman being told, look, right, you better not try and do a side deal with the Iranians on tolls coming through the Strait. So we'll see how this plays out. But it could be that there was some movement with Pakistan in the last 24, 48 hours.
All right, Jamil Jaffer, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Alex.